isn't going to be our typical live feed that we do. I absolutely have something weird that I discovered that I think you guys need to know about. It was absolutely insane. So I'll just wait till we get a couple people here. I want to blow the load at the very beginning. Let's get these. By the way, we're going to be hanging out while I cook. So this is going to be one of those, kind of ask me anything, kind of the bladed ginger. This is going to be one of those ones where I'm going to stick close with the chat. But I fell down an internet rabbit hole last night, and as I get everything done, and I got tasked with preparing dinner tonight. So since I had a doctor's appointment and I had to go pick up prescriptions and stuff like that, I decided that we're going to have pot roast tonight. So I've got the crock pot out. I got to start cooking. I need a bigger cutting board. You need to move, buddy. You are underfoot. I love having you around me, but you are the most underfoot pup ever. How's the audio, by the way, as I'm moving around? And there's going to be some knife tie-ins here because I'm going to point you in the direction of what I think you should get for Christmas presents. The Fair and Forge Knife Works kitchen knives set that they have, absolutely amazing. It's the best kitchen knives I've ever used. So anyway, I'm cooking dinner, and so let him cook. I thought we would hang out while I'm doing this. So last night I couldn't, like I said, couldn't sleep. My shoulder hurt really bad, and I'm like, what's just gonna randomly show up on my YouTube feed? And I had been talking about Akron, Ohio with somebody back home, and we were talking about how Akron, Ohio is played in some of the older TV shows, shit, I need light. What was it? Family Ties. Family Ties was set in Akron, Ohio. And everybody's like, oh, the Keatons, that's where the Keatons live. It must be such a sweet town. Akron, Ohio is a complete and utter shithole. But so as this was happening, I kept having this stuff that popped up that was recommended, and it was this guy, Chance something. I can't think of it, but he goes by Cyrax. So I don't know if you guys have ever fallen down the Cyrax YouTube rabbit hole. I don't recommend it. It's not the fun and jovial content that you want to try and fall asleep to, but somehow I fell down the Cyrax rabbit hole. And yes, I actually am a very good cook, by the way. I fall down this Cyrax rabbit hole. I don't know if you've ever seen this. Holy crap. I'm like, what in the world is this? And so I'm looking at it. So if you don't know, Cyrax is this guy that he's been on the internet, but he looks like a fucking goblin. He's terrifying to look at. And I'm not sitting here trying to make fun of somebody with a disability, because it's very obvious that this guy has got a disability of some sort. It's a genetic malformity. His mother apparently was doing drugs or drinking when she was pregnant. It's very clear. But holy shit, if you've never fallen down that rabbit hole, don't do it. Don't do it just because I want you to. If you like really weird stuff, go look up this entire thing. This guy has called the cops because he says that people are trolling him and all this crap. And it's just insane how weird that whole Cyrax thing is. But that was pretty much it on that. I thought I would go further with it. The cops are constantly coming to his house. The cops are so frustrated with it that the one video I was watching was body cam footage. Somebody had reported that this guy Cyrax had done self-deletion, right? And the cops showed up. They knocked on the door. He didn't answer, and they fucking left. They're like, there are the 100+ police calls that he's called the police on people trolling him on the internet 100+ times in a year. Like, that is insane. That is even, like, that's such a waste of resources. By the way, this is how I've always done pot roast. A big bed of onions in the bottom of the crock pot. That's the first thing you do. I'm probably going to put 4 of these small onions in, like 4 onions, and just chop them. I just cut them in half and then cut them into like strips and just let those cook down. That's going to make your soup. I don't add any water to this, just the onions. I should put a lid on that so it heats up quicker. Just onions, put some salt in it to help bring the moisture out, and just in half and then chop them up. But at any rate, if you're here, 10 of you guys, only 4 likes, please drop a like. That whole Cyrax thing, but he's constantly calling the cops. Constantly calling the cops. On his perceived thing. But the thing is, he's breaking Ohio law because he keeps exposing himself on stream. So what is this? It says it's held for review. We'll leave that one hid. That one stays hidden. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, so when he gets frustrated in his stream and he feels like somebody's giving, like, making his, like somebody's attacking him in the stream, he pulls down his pants and shows his pecker. And I'm like, what in the fuck is wrong with you? But like, apparently there's videos of him putting like a fidget spinner in his pee hole. And I'm like, what? This is on the internet. And I'm like, this has to be, like, how does he even have a platform? Like, how is that even possible? Oop, got a little bit of like onion paper stuck on the knife. There we go. So, well, happy Tuesday to you, Barbarian Brawny. Happy Tuesday. I had a doctor's appointment this morning, which reminds me, I have medication that I'm supposed to be taking. I was supposed to take it as soon as I could. So, a couple things. I had 2 appointments, actually. I saw my therapist, and so now I have a new batch of Don't Kill a Motherfucker pills, and I have some stuff for my shoulder, but it does look like we're going to Vladimir Kosup. How's it going? Hello to you. I can't pronounce your last name. The vowels aren't in the right places for me. So at any rate, like I said, I'm going to put a bunch of onion in here, probably 1 more onion. And they're going to cook down, and that's going to make the soup. But those onions are potent. My eyes is watering. So yeah, that was my nighttime. I couldn't sleep because my shoulder hurt so bad, and I'm like, oh, this will be my my thing. And then I was just like so invested in the weirdness that I couldn't sleep. So yeah, it was so weird. Fair and Forge Knife Works. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a holiday sale, but if they don't, you can use my coupon code crazysharp. I don't make a penny from the sale of their stuff, but they honestly, no joke, Elliot is an avid home cook like me. Elliot absolutely has one of the best production kitchen knives on the market right now. These ones that they did, him and his brother Chris, they're absolutely, as far as like a kitchen knife that you just buy and order and it comes to you relatively quickly, they're probably the best I've had so far. But I mean, they're not like, we're not talking like the stuff from Super Steel Steve. Like, his kitchen knives are, from what I understand, his kitchen knives are insane. He and I might not get along. We might not see eye to eye. I personally don't like him. However, I can honestly say, from everything I've heard from anyone, his kitchen knives are fucking top notch. But as a $100 production kitchen knife set, can't go wrong with these. These things are great. And it's not just that they look cool, because they do. Like, I would have been fine if this was just a solid piece instead of being this weird Damascus that they did, the core Damascus. I would have been fine with it. It looks really good, but it's the geometry on them. They are really, really good. Dang, just got the notification. What you chopping? Onions right now. I don't want the caramelization on the onions. It changes the flavor. I'm doing beef stew, or pot roast, I should say, more accurately. And so I really don't want that. I want the onions to cook down and caramelize. I don't want the sugars to, I don't want them to caramelize that way, if you know what I mean. I don't like that flavor from the onions in a pot roast with the potatoes and everything. I do, however, sear the roast. So I think that's probably enough onion. And if I decide I want more onion flavor, which I don't think I'll need it, that's four small to medium-sized onions. A lot of onions in that. Those are going to cook down, and that's going to be the basis for the... Try mushrooms. I do love mushrooms, but the rest of my family does not like mushrooms. So there won't be any mushrooms in the pot roast. This is the salt, right? If you're trying to sweat down onions, put a little bit of... I just let it burn. I mean, I've been pepper sprayed. When I was in the military for non-lethal weapons instructor, I got sprayed for the class. I got sprayed when I would, every year. I got overspray when I would instruct. I've been pepper sprayed so many times that onions just don't even bother me anymore. But just a pot roast, not a big one. But I am gonna sear that before it goes in. So I'm gonna sear the roast, put it on top of the onions, let it cook down, and then carrots, onions, carrots, potatoes, a little bit of dill. I couldn't find mustard seed. I'm hoping I still have some mustard seed left. I gotta get my spice caddy out. Go through the spice caddy and see if I have any. I do want some celery seed in there. I don't like actual celery. Smoked paprika, that's gonna go in. I don't like celery in my stuff. But I do like the taste. Like, I don't like the actual celery, so I don't actually add celery. So I add celery seed because it gives me the same flavor profile. And of course, MSG. MSG always go in it. Hey! There we go. I was just talking about Cyrax and his trolls and how he flips out, and then I get my trolls start showing up. The other thing, too, is I can't find my mortar and pestle because I don't have any fine ground pepper, and the pepper mill does not grind as fine as I want it to. CS sucks. I will admit, CS gas sucks. So in case you guys are wondering, I don't have a recipe that I ever follow for anything. I have cayenne pepper, basil. I don't think I have any mustard seed. Some ground white pepper. I have whole cloves for some ungodly reason. Whoever would want cloves, I don't know. They're disgusting. But for some reason I have them. I do not have. I need these to go here with these. I guess I'm just going to have to... That was an off-the-shelf. These things are great. And like I said, you can get these with a coupon code. It saves you 10% at checkout. Now, I don't know if you can stack my coupon code with any sales that they have going on, but I definitely have a coupon code for you. Always clean as you go. Not so much that I'm like a professional chef and I need to say things like that, but when my wife gets home, it makes it a lot easier on me if the house isn't a mess. There's the other spice caddy. Is there anything in here? I thought for sure that I had some... mustard seed, and I just... because I couldn't find it at the store. Nope, there is none. There is none. I have some super, super spicy peppers that I could put in it, but then my wife and kid would never eat it. So, all right, guys, this will be like an Ask Me Anything. I'm going to be back and forth going through the through the chat. I'm going to get some little small ramekins with my spices because the spices are going to go in at different times. Where's our little ramekin bowls? That. Okay, so I need smoked paprika. Some spices, you want to put them in at different times. This is something I've learned. It's like growing up with my grandmother and cooking, and she was like, okay, you never caramelize your onions and your shallots at the same time. Or you know, and I always wondered why. And I was like, I could never figure out. Well, it turns out, she's like, you just don't. I never got an explanation from my grandmother who taught me how to cook. My grandmother was Italian and German. My grandfather was Irish, Italian, and German. I'm sorry, he was Irish and German. And so I'm like, I'd ask her and I was like, well, why don't you caramelize your onions and your shallots at the same time? Turns out that they caramelize at different temperatures and you wind up burning one. So shallots caramelize at a lower temperature, just like garlic. So you can wind up screwing it up if you try and caramelize them together. But there was just no reason. It was just like, well, you just don't. And I was like, okay, for years, you just don't do that. Turns out there's a valid reason why. So I'm going to cook. This is a bottom round roast that I picked up. Bottom round, delicious. It's a very, very good cut. You just have to cook it forever. So it's also cheap. It's also a cheap cut. So I gotta get a pan out here. My wife packed away my cast iron, so I'm gonna have to do it in an aluminum. Get that out there, do that here. I'm gonna get some of these spices set out. So guys, this is gonna be one of those ones that I'm relying on you guys for the chat. Celery seed, paprika's already in. I don't need that yet. A little bit of rosemary. Not much. So your spices, you put them in at different stages throughout the cook because sometimes the flavors can dissipate if you don't. What are you guys up to? What's everybody doing? I'm going to make a cup of coffee here in a minute. This, however, can go in right now. I guess we're just going to have coarser ground pepper this time. Did you make chicken wings or breasts with mustard? Yeah, I've done a bunch of different. I've made my own mustard. And I think that's why I don't have any mustard seed right now, is I'm pretty sure that I used all the mustard the last time I made my own mustard. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm 99% sure that that's not what I wanted to grab. It does not need to go in there. I'm pretty sure that's where all my mustard seed went that time. I know I had. Oh, those onions smell great. I'm 100% sure I had mustard seed. I need one more ramekin. So there's a good chance that I might get that job at the casino. About 2 teaspoons of that in there. So, I love the smell of dill. Even dried dill still is amazing. 2 teaspoons of dill, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/4 teaspoon and a 1/2 teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed, 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary. That should be about the spices I need till we get to the point where I'm putting in garlic and things like that. Because garlic, if you put garlic in too soon, it cooks out. If you put it in too late, it's too strong. You just kind of got to feel that out. And it's pretty much going to be based on when the potatoes and carrots are done. And a cheat, if you guys are making stuff, you can get these I didn't even think about this. I would always get carrots and I'd chop them up real fine. I'd cut the carrots up the way I wanted, and I would cut them at oblong angles so that they would cook better and get the flavor and stuff. These are those crinkle cut carrot chips. Perfect. Perfect. You don't even have to cut them. So only thing you have to cut is the onions and the potatoes. If you get baby potatoes, you don't even have to cut those. They do have a tendency to not get as much flavor in them as you want. So yeah, let me get this turned on. And get some oil in this pan. But it's always great to do this. Like if you, like it's not even noon yet. By the time everybody gets home, dinner will be done. By the time my wife gets home from work, it'll almost be done. Well, by dinner time, it'll be done. So my wife will get home from work, and then, yes, it's a knives channel. We're talking about these kitchen knives. I just happen to be cooking, and I thought I would hang out with you guys for a little bit. Are you gonna come in here and do this bullshit again, Zentir? Are you gonna pull that bullshit again today? No, you can't hammer with this kitchen knife. This is not a knife that you go out and you baton through wood with. Just a preemptive strike there. So, yeah, I decided I'd hang. I didn't get any sleep last night. So this is gonna be kind of a weird one. I already washed that off or not? Yeah, it's me. I'm just cooking. I'm just cooking. I'm setting up everything so that my wife doesn't have to worry about dinner when she gets home. I'm not working right now. I mean, I'm laid off, so I may as well, bring you guys along for this. I'm just getting ready to seal. How good is Van Axe steel? Van Axe is not bad. I'm not a big fan of Van Axe. It's just not the steel I want, if you know what I mean. So Van Axe steel's good. It's just not. It just doesn't do. It's like some of the other steels. The grain pattern or the grain structure is really kind of fine. It's not an aggressive edge like I get on some other stuff. If you know what I mean. It just does not quite do a lot of the things that I just. Foldable or backup or fixed blades, you're free to have. Oh, so a folding knife, I would never like hammer through anything with it. If you got a folding knife, with the exception of a couple, like some, hang on, I put this away. Some of the cold steel, larger fixed blade knives with their triad lock, absolutely acceptable to like baton through stuff, but that's not something I would carry. Something like this is just like an everyday carry. If I want a fixed blade, I'm gonna go get one of my big, I'll grab one and I'll show you. One of the ones that I would do that with, for you, Zinter, I will do that. Hang on. Whew. That's hot. Hang on. While that's searing, I'm going to go grab a big one that I could show you, like an outdoor. That was the Django XL. So I have a couple really beefy outdoor knives that I would trust to do all those camp tasks. Give me a second. I don't want to burn the roast, but I also want it to sear. There's a good one. There's my big monster. This one and this one. Oh, this one as well. I have a few. That are like camp knives. We'll look at them in a second. That's a Django XL, like I said. Hang on. No, I'm literally the easiest cooking you can do. So this is one, it's done by Work Tough Gear. This is the Grizzly. Absolutely chopping tasks and things like that. Absolutely something that if you want to take it out, you can strap it to your gear. You can make your own lanyards, stuff for it. This one is the FB03 by KATSU Knives, same company that's making my folding knife. Another great outdoor knife. It's a Japanese style outdoor knife. been around for years. You actually see these in Japan a lot of times, camping and things like that. Cold Steel SRK. This one was issued to me in the military. That's a great one. And I think this is the M3 by Lion Steel, a really good bushcraft knife. And I have several others. I just went out and grabbed a handful while that's searing. And that's really hot, so I need a set of tongs to do this with. So I think they mismarked that. I think they mismarked that cut of beef. I do not believe that is a bottom round. That looks like top sirloin to me. It looks like that's what the meat looks like. It's really already pretty tender. So yeah, the roast after it sears is going to go in the. Love how I talk about knives. Well, I was a knife maker, so I'm pretty passionate about some of this stuff. And I'm friends with a lot of knife makers like Bob Truzzola and some of those guys. A little bit of MSG now, maybe a little bit later. So like I said, as those onions cook down, they're going to make the basis for the broth that this beef cooks in. Woo! Looking good. Oh, it smells good in here. Yeah, I have several designs that are out there in the wild, including my. Hopefully that light's not too bright. I've been carrying the prototypes in S90V of my knife. I absolutely love it. Like I said, I think the big one that I'm going to change is the size of the choil. I think I want to change the size of the choil to match the fixed blade version, which is just a little bit smaller, but gives you a tiny bit. It gives a smaller bit more edge on this would be good. And then it just cuts really well. And I've used this a bunch. I've resharpened it, took it apart, cleaned it up. I'm pretty impressed with a first look prototype. Pretty good. Ooh, I have got to clean the stove. So, just a quick sear on this. Put it in the pan or in the crock pot. Don't dump your oil. If you sear a piece of meat, don't dump the oil. It's got a lot of flavor that's going to be in it. And I don't know if you know this, but fat is the vehicle that flavor travels in. There is oil all over that stove now. That's the worst part about like cooking and doing shit like this is when you have to sear beef and stuff like that, the oil that gets all over everything just pops and things. Like meat looks nice. I'm not making mashed potatoes. The potatoes are going in. So the way I do a pot roast is rough cut vegetables. So I'm gonna have carrots. I'm gonna have potatoes that I quarter. Those will go in later. And you just chop them into quarters and you put them in and just let them cook. And then you put them on your plate. And if you want to mash those potatoes, you pull the potatoes aside, you mash them with a fork, put a little bit of butter in it. But I am going to put some butter in with the roast here a little bit later. Because if you don't, you get too much sweetness. You don't get enough fat. And I will be adding probably a little bit later as this starts to cook down, maybe a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of vinegar, because you salt, sweet, because the carrots are going to bring a lot of sweetness. The onions are going to bring a lot of sweetness. You got to cut that, so you add a little bit of salt, but a little bit of vinegar and fat to that is just going to balance it out. And like I said, I learned to cook from my grandmother, and it's 100%. Like everybody's like, well, where's the recipe? I don't even know what a fucking recipe is. I don't have a recipe book, anything. I just cook because I grew up like basically in my grandmother's kitchen. So we're good for a little bit. I really have to have dinner right now. It's evening here. Oh, you're in Italy. So my grandmother was like half Italian, and like a lot of the things that I cook are, I make pasta sauce. I make like the original traditional type of Alfredo. Like not that Americanized, like creamy bullshit crap, like old school Alfredo. I make like I know how to like I made butter and garlic pasta for my daughter here recently, and she watched me do it, and she's like, "Wait, you're not using like you're just making this." She tasted it. She was like, she watched me make it. She's like I don't know. And so I started just making it. I made butter garlic pasta and used the pasta water to thicken it and a little bit of cream, lots of butter, lots of garlic, fresh garlic, and things like that. And she was like, I don't make a bechamel really per se. I just kind of use in the pot. But I have found that if I use pasta water, it's not as good as if I put a little bit. I know it sounds sacrilegious, but I will mix a little bit of cornstarch and water in like a in like a little squirt bottle, like a little ketchup, you know, the little ketchup squeeze bottles, and I'll just add that and thicken it that way, as opposed to trying to use the pasta water. Because a lot of times the pasta water just doesn't get me where I want to go, and then I add so much, I wind up adding so much water that by the time I thicken it, it just takes too long. So I have a little bottle, like a little ketchup bottle thing, like what you would see at a restaurant, and I just fill it with water and cornstarch and just shake it up really good, and then just put it in that way to thicken up the sauce. But here's the thing, like a lot of the pastas that you buy, the dry pasta, like if you're making fresh pasta, yeah, you get a lot more of the starch. But if you're buying, like if you're using like store-bought pasta like we are, like dry pasta, because it's really hard to get good fresh pasta here in the States, especially in California. Uh, it's it's so much easier just to put a little bit of cornstarch in water and just add it as you need it, and then you can just put it in the refrigerator for the next time. Because I make a lot of pasta, and I make my own sauce. I make my own red sauce from fresh tomatoes. My neighbor gave me a bunch of tomatoes. I made roasted garden tomatoes, and I ran it through a food sieve to get the seeds and the skins and everything out. I had actually like skinned them. I put them in boiling water. I cut the X's in, put them in boiling water, and then peeled the skins back. But then I ran them through like a food mill to get rid of the seeds and like some of the hard parts that are kind of bitter. And then I made my own pasta sauce, just with fresh garlic. And I roasted garlic for me. Like people are like, "Oh, what are you roasting garlic for?" And I'm like, "It's because it's a snack. I just put it on toast." I'll go get like a baguette and cut it and toast it and just smear roasted garlic on it. When I cook, a lot of times my house smells like an episode of The Sopranos. So here's a trick. Like I cut up a bunch of onion. If I want more oniony flavor, dried minced onion. I keep a bunch of this around the house. And I do find, as much as I like fresh garlic, I just don't have a real good way to make my own pasta. I really don't I don't really have a way, like I don't have a pasta maker, and it's just like the time consuming thing. Like I have friends that will make fresh pasta. I love fresh pasta. But I do also there's some local brands of pasta that is like the dried pasta, but it's really good. It's not like your shitty off the shelf dried spaghetti pasta noodles. My daughter has been eating a lot of this weird chickpea pasta for some reason. I don't know why. She says it's got more protein and stuff. I'm gonna tell you, the only type of pasta I've ever been good at making is just egg noodles. Because that's my grandmother would make egg noodles, fresh egg noodles, just yolks, all yolks, no whites, and stuff like that. So I've got to get these onions cleaned up and put away, and I just realized I didn't buy any fresh garlic, but I do have jarlic, so I think we'll be okay. I have jarlic and I have dried garlic. So everything here is going to be fresh-ish, as fresh as I can get it here in Southern California. Clean your cutting board between things too, even if you're putting it all in the same pot. I've had people that are like, "Oh, you don't have to go, I'm just cutting." I was like, "Bro, like clean your cutting board between things." So yeah, I've been But I lived in Southeast Asia for like 13 years. I was stationed in Japan for 13 years. I have had pretty much any kind of Asian noodles you can imagine. Um, Anthony Kitchen, am I using your knives today? No. Fair and Forge Knife Works kitchen knives. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have a holiday sale. If they don't, you can use my coupon code crazysharp, saves you 10%. These, I have tons of kitchen knives. I've went through the gambit of buying kitchen knives and trying to find the ones I like. This one's just about perfect. It's the right size for me. I don't hit my fingers on the cutting board. Nice, lot of clearance. It's got a bit of an angle. You can get up on the tip, and they also have so their set comes with 2 knives, and I'm not gonna lie, these are basically the only 2 knives you need. Comes with a mini version, which is their paring knife. So this, Elliot did a really good job with the design. It's not that they're like super high quality. It's not that they're like super high quality or anything, because they are, but it's just the overall design and geometry, and they come ridiculously sharp. I have no idea what you're trying to say. I did add some MSG to that. So we can add this. I'm aware. Already starting to get a little color. I need coffee. I have not had any coffee yet today. I had a doctor's appointment, and I was not allowed to have anything before my lab, before I did my blood work. And then I got to go grab, let me see, hang on. Where'd I put? I spilled a bunch of water on the floor right here. And I'm like, why does the floor feel slippery? It just comes naturally, and I like meat. I don't have, my wife's not home, so I can get away with this. I haven't eaten. I'm supposed to take this with either food or milk. I don't know why my wife flips out. I'm the only one in the house that drinks milk. I am the only one in the house that drinks milk. The only. What are you? What are you two? What do we? It just comes natural, and I like meat. Super thin profile on these kitchen knives. So, what's everyone got on their agenda for today? What's everyone's plans? I was gonna film, but I just don't feel like filming today. Do not feel like filming today. Oh, we were talking about this. This is the Django XL. I'm a big guy, so the XL is a perfect size for me. This thing has got, like, people are like, oh great, another Chinese knife. This thing has got just about the best heat treat on LMAX. Just about the best heat treat on LMAX that I've had, like outside of a custom heat treat. Like Elliot Williamson did a couple knives in LMAX, like custom ones that were his alpha build prototypes. The alpha build prototypes that he did in LMAX, because he had some leftover from doing some customs. And the alpha build prototypes with his heat treat in LMAX was just insane. And I own a knife. I own a knife of his in LMAX, and it's insane how good that steel is. So just some of the best heat treat, you're gonna get. Their LMAX. TRC knives, I had one here that was an M390, and I would have liked to have seen him run it a little bit harder, but it's like, oh, well, that makes it tougher. And my experience having made knives in M390, 20CV analogs for each other, I found that you don't get any more toughness out of running it a little softer. You lose some edge retention. So I wound up, mine were run at 65-ish. And you didn't give up any of that toughness. You did give up a little rust resistance, but you didn't give up any of the toughness in M390 that people typically talk about when they say they're, oh, I'm going to run it at this HRC for toughness, just run it a little bit softer. I don't find that to be the case with M390 or 20CV. I will say there are some steels that you do get a little bit more toughness by running it a little softer. Work Tough Nomad, maybe a Bark River. I have a Bark River. I have a great Bark River in here. Oh, why did I tie that? Why did I tie that? If you're gonna put your onions in a plastic bag in the refrigerator, don't tie them. There's a reason LMAX is easier to get right now than M390, and I'll tell you why. M390 is not meant for knife making. It was designed for the plastics cutting industry. And those people use a lot more of that material than anyone else. So if the plastics cutting industry is pushing a big order for their cutting tools in M390, you're going to see less M390 available for knife makers. It's something like Elliot Williamson talked about this when he was trying to buy M390. They're like, we can get you some, but not very much, not enough to do a run of 200. Like, he's like, yeah, but I'm paying. He's like, we don't really care how much you're buying a sheet. He goes, he was telling me that the guy was like, you buy one sheet from us for like $5,000 or $6,000. He's like, we get orders of 40 and 50 sheets from one person 3 or 4 times a year. And he's like, and there's a lot of other companies that do that as well. And he's like, oh, so knife makers are not their prime customer. Now, Bowler has been very cool with working with knife makers and design, like Microtech has their own formulation of M390 now, called M390MK, and it's pretty good. I like it, and somebody mentioned it that they thought it was kind of similar to LMAX, and I think they might be right. I think it's closer to LMAX the way it feels and acts than it is to M390, the original M390 formulation. And I'm thinking, I can't find my mortar and pestle, but I may whiz this rose. I don't like rosemary. I don't want pine needles in my food. As much as I like the taste of rosemary, I kind of want to crush this up. I might put it in the food processor and whiz it up, but mortar and pestle would be so much better. Oh well, maybe I can just break it up a little bit with my thumb, and then I'll add a little bit of warm water to that before I put it in, just to bloom the... I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's going basically in soup. They didn't have... Oh, it smells good. They didn't have any fresh rosemary. I think that's a half teaspoon, maybe a little bit more. There we go. They didn't have any fresh rosemary when I was at the base commissary at 32nd Street Naval Base. Get a metal ramekin with the back of a butter knife. That's country boy cooking right there. Just to break it up a little bit. I just don't want... What's everybody carrying in their pocket today? Like I said, I'm carrying my prototype and the Django XL. What's everybody's EDC right now? Or as Scab calls it, his I can't remember, it was TDC or something like that? I got a bunch. So I'm cooking, and then I got a bunch of like camp knives, camp style knives here on the counter. I have one here, and I want to talk about this. There's going to be a video about this. I want to talk about this, so I'll leave this out. This is something I do want to talk about. So if you guys remember back, oh, well, that sucks. I screwed that all up. I need to just go through all this stuff, organize it. Here a few months ago, I had a knife on the channel, and I said it was the worst knife I've ever gotten. How do I do this? So I got a knife, and it was horrible. It was a knife that came to me directly from a friend of mine. It had been made for him, and he paid the tripod is at its almost highest setting, and it's like its highest height. This little mini one. Microtep Combat Truodon. That is like if I was to go out of my way to buy a OTF now, it would be that one. I love that. As a matter of fact, my fixed blade dagger design has that same uneven asymmetrical blade. So one edge is longer than the other because it could come down. I absolutely love that look. This thing is trying to fall over. I may have to readdress how I've got you guys positioned. I just don't want this tripod to fall over. That's a little bit more stable. Absolutely love that. But so I got a knife in, and I was like, this is absolutely the worst knife I've ever had. And then the company came out and they said, well, you know, sorry, we've got some issues with the production, and we're going to switch makers. And they were like, we're going to send you something to make up for how bad that was. And they sent me this one. So this was the Makos carnivore knives. This amazing knife. They had a guy named Brock Woodson start making these knives. Well, it turns out that the owner of the company, and I'm going to do a big video about it, turns out that the owner of the company really wasn't the owner of the company. His father was, and he basically was doing all this stuff. The guy that owned the company, that owned Carnivora, the guy that was running it, he was just a piece of shit. And he screwed over customers, he screwed over investors, and he screwed over this maker, who is a retired combat Marine, so badly that the guy that made this knife, that was going to bring their company back, which he was. This is an amazing knife. This is one of the best big fixed blade knives that I've ever had come in. It is the company's thing was fantasy functional, so you get a fantasy-esque knife like you would see in like a big what am I saying? Like Wizards and Warriors kind of movies back in the day. You'd have this big knife like this, but it's still functional. At any rate, he screwed Brock over so badly that Brock had to sell everything. Like, Brock was so fucked. He spent so much money trying to get that company back, and then he blamed Brock for everything, cut ties with Brock, didn't pay him the money he owed him, and wound up so in debt. Brock wound up so fucking screwed that he had to sell everything, including his house. And there's going to be a big video coming, but the more I hear about this guy's dealings, the more I want to send him to the dentist with a Ziploc bag full of teeth. I want to send him to the dentist with his teeth in his hat. Like, can you fix this? Every time I hear something new about somebody he screwed over, a disabled veteran that he screwed over, an investor that happened to be a veteran he screwed over, it just gets worse. And it just makes me more and more angry. And I was angry to begin with. But here's one. Here's a veteran-made knife that you should not worry about how good the quality is. This is, I just took it off my belt. I actually forgot I was carrying it and wore it on base, where fixed blade knives are 100% illegal on that naval installation. Completely forgot I was carrying it. This is the Night Guard. Night Guard by TKL Knives. Tim just does amazing, amazing work. So, hang on a second. I just got a notification. All right, we're going to have to, like, bring this in and tip this back. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I know it's frozen. There we go. That's better. I got to go grab something. I need to check that notification I just got in case it was my daughter. So, oh, geez. Oh, it's nothing. Nothing. So, yeah, I'm just, the more I hear, the angrier I get. And I'm just, by the time I get around to actually doing the video and I get all the information, 'cause I need to talk with one of the other guys that's going to help me with getting the information. The more I What part of the country do I live? I am in Southern California. So it's actually been fairly cool here in San Diego. I live in San Diego, outside of San Diego. I need to get a pan ready for these potatoes to soak in for a little bit. So, oh, I gotta clean that stove up. Have you seen the Demko Shark Cub? It's called the Stealth. I haven't. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know if it's a fixed blade or what it is, but I have found, as much as it is fun and fidgety, the Shark Lock, the Super Lock, the Snex Super Lock, I don't like them. They get in the way. I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. What are you looking at me like that for, pup? Huh? Why are you out there? You don't have to be out in the studio. He loves to lay on the floor out in the studio. I'm not a fan of those locks. I'm not. They just have a tendency to not be, and if you guys are here, please drop a like. There's 19 of you here, but there's only 15 likes. I don't like that lock mechanism. And it's not a good lock, and it's not that it's not a functional lock. Well, the original the original Super Lock that was on that that first, I forget what one it was. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was We Knives something. And like it would disengage from the lock, and they tried to say that was a feature, and I'm like, you're full of shit. Nobody would do that. It's not supposed to be like that. And people vilified me, and then they came out, and when they made the field grade version of that knife, they were like, oh, well, it doesn't do that anymore. And I'm like, well, if it was a fucking feature, then why did you get rid of it? I need a cup of coffee. I'm in a very, very disgruntled mood. But this is what I'm talking. I'll show you why I don't like these. And it's not that they're a bad lock. I just find them, there it is, found it. I just find them in the way. They're just not comfortable. So the Super Lock on this is the Snex Super Lock on this Chupacabra by Tactile Knife. Very fidgety, very cool, but the thing is, for me, when I get a hold of the Vision R, yeah, the original Vision R, it would disengage. Like you would pull this back, and the lock would completely pull out, and then your blade would just flop around, and we'd have to re-engage the lock. And people tell me, "Oh, you're full of shit. It didn't do it." I had it do it going into my pocket in a pair of pants. It caught on the lip of the pocket, and it disengaged the lock from the blade, and so then the blade was just free. This one doesn't do that either. It's a strong lock. There's nothing wrong with it. It is fidgety and fun, but type Tyro Bro Tyro. I don't know what you're talking about. But at any rate, it's in the way. Like when I bear down to cut, it digs into my thumb, and I'm like, I don't like that. So it's a decent enough knife. I don't like the Shark Lock. I don't like the Atlas Lock. I don't like this lock. I just don't like them. I find them to be cumbersome and in the way. They're cool, but they're just not great functional things for me personally. I'm afraid I'm gonna break that cord putting that in my pocket. So I don't like those. It's still, like, even the Shark Lock, I like the idea of it. Do I think it's a strong lock? Yeah, I think it's a strong lock. It's a lot like the Shark Lock, which was proven to be very strong. It has nothing to do with the strength of the lock, but the fact is, the strength of a lock gets overplayed. It doesn't really need to be that strong. Like, it just needs to be strong enough that if you bump up against something, that your knife's not going to slam shut on your hand, right? It doesn't need to be something where you push back on something, right? That's not what a knife was meant for. Like this, like if I'm swinging back, say I'm working under a car and I've got my knife in my hand, I need to cut something, and I slam into the undercarriage of the car. Is that lock strong enough to keep it from closing on my hand? Or if I'm pushing on the spine when I bear down to cut, is that lock strong enough to have it keep from closing on my hand? Which is why I don't do a spine whack test, because when you induce shock, it causes vibration through the knife. It can cause the lock to slip. Having been a knife maker, I'll tell you I know these things. The way I test a knife is I push on the heel and I don't get my hand in the way, unlike our favorite retard. Oh, I used the R word. Sorry, YouTube. I'll only use it once. Our favorite R word cutting board knife review, who decided to test the ram lock in an amphibian by grabbing it like this and slamming it as hard as he could into a piece of wood. Almost any knife's going to fail that test. And it snapped back and he cut him. He was like, this knife's a failure. I'm going to modify the knife. At any rate, grab the knife like this. You put pressure on the tip and the heel, keeping your hand out of the way in case it does fail. And if you feel that lock start to slip, send it back to the company you bought it from, or back to the maker and like, hey, this lock slips. If you feel that lock start to disengage a little bit, like a little squeak, don't keep doing it, and absolutely don't do a spine whack test on that. People are stupid when they do these. You got to be able to slam it and the lock's failing. I'm like, you're an idiot. Now, if you happen to just gently tap it, which I'll agree, a spine tap on something soft like a piece of leather, like a wood strap handle, or a piece of leather wrapped around a piece of wood, and you just tap it about that hard, if it fails, or I've been testing this gentle spine wax since my prototypes came in, no failures. If I go like this and I slam it, then yeah, I'm gonna have a failure. But the reason people do that is because that's what Cold Steel used to do in their videos. I'm like, oh, if you like, that's Cold Steel designed their knives around those tests. The triad lock was designed around the weight hang test. Like, it was a promotional thing. And do I agree that liner locks will fail that way faster than frame locks? Frame locks will fail it faster than a good axis lock. An axis lock will fail before a compression lock, and a compression lock will fail before a triad lock. Triad lock is the gold standard. Triad lock is the gold standard. I believe that a good axis lock or a good compression lock are up there in the top 3 strong locks for knives. There is no reason that I've never been out somewhere and been like, oh, I got to drive a nail. Let me use the spine of my knife. No. Proper tools and their uses. People are dumb. And YouTube channels that do that capitalize on people being dumb, or at least as dumb as they are. You're not going to hear me have any sympathy for, I'll show you the knife that he did it with, and I'll grab a couple of other locks. Since we're cooking, I'm just going to be out here anyway. So this is the knife. You guys could hear me all the way out there, right? I tested it one time, and you can actually, I can go almost everywhere in the house, and you might get a little bit of a broken signal, but you guys should be able to hear me all the way from the kitchen to the studio, because it's literally one door away. So this is the knife that he did that with, which is an incredibly strong lock. Now, I will admit that after he did that, Tony changed the lock up, the internal lockups on it, but it's a really, really strong single spring plunger type crossbar lock. And I don't care how strong a knife is. If you're going like overhead and slamming it into a block of wood, that lock is probably going to give up the ghost. Because when you do that, you hit that, it sends a shock down the blade. The lock slightly disengages a little bit, the blade can get out of position, and on the next strike, it's probably going to fail. That's what happens with a lot of the frame locks that fail, is if you hit it really hard, the shock allows the, I have one in my pocket. How convenient. Let me see. Can I get these lights turned? I'm in the kitchen. This isn't optimal for filming, but we used to do all of our live feeds in the kitchen, and you guys used to sit on a can of coffee. I used to just prop the phone up on a can of coffee. So So your frame lock engages with a small radius area of the blade. And when you induce a shock, it can send that back and it will push that lock over slightly. It'll just come over, especially if it's got soft lock bar tension. It'll slightly disengage that lock. And then it'll get back in position because now it's in. And then when you hit it the next time, it's just going to happen. That's not how you test a knife. It really isn't. And like I said, you grab the end of the knife, get your finger out of the travel of the blade, you squeeze here, and if you feel a little squeak, like that lock is trying to come loose, then you send it back to the manufacturer. You send it back to the company you bought it from. What's the real reason people do that on YouTube? What is the real reason and why? It's because, yeah, well, it was a specific brand, and that's why I don't own one of those knives. What's pooping? I don't know. Are you pooping? I was pooping earlier. It's a very dangerous weapon here in South Africa. It's not a weapon, it's a tool. That you probably shouldn't have it in South Africa. But I'm not in South Africa, so pardon my rudeness, but I'm happy for you. I bet this is a weapon of war in South Africa then. Compression lock, another great lock. I still think even as strong as this is, I'm probably not as easily. I think this would probably be, this knife and the triad lock would probably be the two that would tolerate a severe spine whack test like that. This is a very strong lock because as opposed to a frame lock where it slides in between the radius, this has that same thing going for it. It also has a pin here, so it's cut out different. So your lock cuts into a groove, so it drops over, but it's also pinched in between that and the pin. So you can see your lock is here. So you basically would have to slam that hard enough to either break the pin, break the face, the actual lock bar, or the end of the blade. Any way you look at it, you've now broken the leg. The only way to make this fail, really, if it's in good working order, is to break the knife. Same with this. Same with this one. Another compression lock. I personally have come to find that the compression lock is probably my favorite lock. Just ease of use, the safety of the fact that I'm out of the travel of that blade. Button lock's pretty good about it too. I'm completely out of the travel of the blade, and it's a super strong lock. So if I do need to do something out of the way, can you give the real good reason? Because it gets views. It gets views, and people try to compare it to cold steel. But cold steel is the reason people do it. They saw Lynn Thompson and his team doing it. And so they think that's how you test knives. And it's not. It's not a good test of a knife. A good test of a knife is to, if you can't get a good grip on it, to do like I was talking, like where you pinch it here. So you're putting pressure into your hand this way. You're pushing up on it. You're trying to like bend it at the middle. If you can't do that, then you put this in like a set of soft jaws and you pull on the back side of this to see if the lock will fail. That's a good way to test the lock. Lynn Thompson designed locks to pass the tests that he was doing. And that's why people now think that that's how you test a knife. No one ever did spine whack tests like that, really. Like tapping it, yes. But when them doing the crack, like cracking it across a piece of wood, where they're wearing a greave, like a metal glove, basically. That didn't happen until Lynn Thompson started doing those videos. Ooh, we got some juice forming. So that's why. And it's just misinformed. Like you can test, like I said, you can, I'll show you a valid spine whack test. This is about how you should do a spine whack. Let me go grab my leather strop. So this is just a piece of wood, and I've done spine whacks on it for videos to show how you should do a spine whack, right? So if you're gonna do a spine tap, let's call it a spine tap. Let's call it what it really is. And please drop a like, hit the double tap the button. Get your fingers out of the travel of the blade, cutting board knife review. You keep your fingers out of the travel of the blade, and you just then you see, has anything shifted? And if it hasn't, it passed the test, right? Some locks are really resilient. I could hit this probably as hard as I want and nothing would change because of the way this lock is built. There are some locks I don't think I want to do that. And you can do it with a button lock. Button locks are great. They're super strong. Problem you have with a button lock is, let me grab my button lock that's out here on the workbench. Because a lot of this cooking right now is just hurry up and wait. So this is a button lock. So the thing with this is there's a plunger in there that looks like a barbell. So you got a shaft, and then you got a high spot, a big round piece on either end. So one's the plunger, one's the button. On the opposite side of this, it looks like if you were to pick up like a wheel on an axle, and there's a wheel on either end, and there's a thin shaft in the middle, right? These are really strong. They are a really strong lock. But the problem is when you do a hard spine whack on these, they're probably not going to fail. But you probably, because these are typically like a flimsy piece of metal, they're not meant for that. You bend the shaft and then it's off center, and then you get some weirdness in the lock opening and closing. Like, it'll pass the test, but it's only going to work that one time. So that's why everybody's like, oh, I spine whacked the shit out of a button lock, this and that. I was like, that's one I wouldn't do at all. Like, I would do the test where I put tension on it and feel if the lock is going to give, or a light tap. But hitting it really hard, you can bend that center post that holds those two pieces together. And you know, knife, that part of the knife is probably the cheapest part that they're using. Everything else is titanium and carbon fiber and steel. That's probably a hollow piece of steel. Like the plunger on these is hollow. And so that lock face that's going in could get bent and deformed, and then you got a weirdness to your lock now. Button locks aren't meant to pass. Are they really strong? Yeah, because they're not, as opposed to a lock that, so a lock bar on, where's my, here we go. So on this, right, this lock drops in. It slides over on a radius. So while it is kind of going in and out, it's more like going at an angle, which means that that pressure could allow it to slip. With a plunger lock, button lock, it's straight in and out. There is no angular force that's going to affect that, maybe bend it, but you have to, the spring has to push it straight back out. It's straight up and down, or straight, like, depending on how you're holding the knife. As opposed to that radiused angle where if you put enough pressure on that, that lock is either going to bend at the cutout, or it's going to slip off that radius because it's at an angle as opposed to being straight. That's why button locks are really, really strong. Very rarely do you see a button lock fail. You'll see button locks that stick, or button locks that don't want to disengage, and that's just the two surfaces marrying together, or somebody pounded on it to do a spine whack test and they bent something and now it's stuck. It's really easy to see. It's like, no, there's something wrong with it from the factory. I'm like, 100% that didn't happen at the factory. That guy sent me a knife. Well, can you fix this? The company won't fix it. They said that I told him, and it was like, I sent it to him and I told him what was wrong. And you're like I took your knife apart and I can see that you obviously did something to damage this. Like, I guarantee you 100% it did not leave the factory like this. And no, I can't fix it. I used to repair knives for people from time to time. Let me put this stuff away. But you can really easily, it's a lot easier to tell with a button lock than it is with a frame lock. And a frame lock might fail a spine whack test once just because of the angle you did it at. And here's another one. If you have, this knife is titanium, right? Steel and titanium have different coefficients of thermal expansion. Big fancy word for when it gets hot or cold, they change the size differently. It's not the same. So if you make a knife when it's really hot or cold, you'll have some differences, and then, you know, you may have a knife that in the summer fails a spine whack test if you crack it a little bit, but then in the winter doesn't, or vice versa. I can't remember which way it goes. I think it gets bigger. I think that the steel gets larger when it's hot and smaller when it's cold. So you'll have a knife that may have a little bit of blade play in cold environments because it was made in an area. Like if you make a knife in South Africa where it's 110 degrees when you make that knife and then send it to somebody that lives in Alaska, you may have some problems. There may be some parts that don't marry up. So you may have a knife that fails lockup tests at different times of the year, depending on different things. Now, with steel lock bar inserts, you don't have to worry about that. Not so much, anyway. But if it's a titanium on, if it's titanium on titanium, or titanium on steel, like a Sebenza, you could possibly have some variations in the tolerances depending on the temperature where you're at. I know that sounds pretty intelligent coming from somebody that looks like me, but I spent a lot of time learning about stuff. The only reason they really do it at Spine Whack is to get views on it. Well, that, or the fact they just don't know that that's not the best way to test a knife. It could 100% just be that. It could be, in the case of Cutting Board Knife Review, that you're just dumb. Brando Picks, what's up, brother? Nothing, just making pot roast. These onions have cooked down significantly to a, God, it smells good, to a soup. So that's going to be, it's about time to start adding some of this stuff. So I've said for years that Spine Whack test makes 0 sense. It really doesn't. And I had said this earlier, I need to get this big metal bowl out to put these potatoes in for a few minutes after I cut them up, just to rinse off the excess starch. If you don't rinse off the excess starch, you can get some foamy shit on the top of the pot roast. Plus, it's good to wash them off a little bit like that. I typically buy these Pioneer brand red potatoes that are pre-washed, but you still do kind of need to give them a quick rinse off. Hit that thumbs up, everybody. Thank you very much for reminding everybody. So I think I want big chunks of potato in this. It's kind of, this piece a little bit big. So, I gotta go. Hope you have a great day. I'm gonna have an okay day. It's been kind of stressful. I'm hoping I hear back from that job at the casino. You guys will get much less content if I get that job. It's just gonna, it's gonna take up more of my time, and YouTube doesn't pay me very much for this. Matter of fact, they're probably not gonna pay me at all for this one. What do I think about the DJI mics? I haven't tried them. They weren't compatible 100% with some of the stuff that I use. I use the Rode Wireless 2 system. It works great, and it's compatible with my phone, my camera, my laptop. It's just compatible with everything I use. The DJI isn't as compatible with some of the stuff. Even though this is, I did have to buy some, I had to buy some, what do you want to call it? Some extra stuff, like an adapter and things like that for this. And I forgot to charge the receiver on this. So we've got about half power left on the receiver. Hopefully we don't wind up losing, but I mean, I could always just use the native microphone on my phone. couple more. But I mean, I hear that they're good. I don't. I mean, at some point, it's typically just form factor. Like, what do you want your microphone to look like? However, like I said, they didn't. The DJIs, when I was looking at everything for my one camera, they just didn't communicate properly with. But then I did run into a problem where this microphone system stopped communicating with my, or recording to my camera. But the nice thing about these, this microphone system that I'm using is it has onboard recording. Like, I could record this entire thing up to 7 gigabytes of audio and then just drop it in if I needed to. So I mean, it all depends on what you want. The stuff I looked at, I have, of which one? The DJI? I'm not in the market to buy another micro. That says a bad potato. I'm not in the market for another one, but like, if I was going to go to a show where they might have something like that, I'd take a look at it. But I don't foresee myself getting another microphone system anytime soon. I'm really happy with the quality of the audio that I get with this, the transmission distance and stuff like that. It's the same reason that the camera I picked is not a GoPro or a DJI camera. I got the one of the cameras. Hang on, I'll show it to you. I had it out because I use it as my dash cam to and from work. I have the Insta 360 Ace Pro, which can film up to 8K. I typically film in 4K, then I take the resolution down to match whatever I'm filming with my other devices, if it's my phone or my other camera. 1080p seems to work out good in any result, but this works perfectly fine with this, with the adapter, or it will. I think I have to do a firmware upgrade, but this does not overheat. The batteries last way longer than the GoPro or the DJI, and it has a Leica lens, and it's just, the clarity on it's just beautiful. I filmed a couple videos on it. So the Rode Go 2. Plus, when I bought the package, I got three batteries as opposed to just one. I got influencer pack. And I got this really discounted because Colin Furs put this in a video. So this is a great little camera, and it works really good for on-the-go shots because it has superb stabilization. Like, I can walk around with it without a gimbal, and it looks rock steady solid. So before that, I was constantly having to use a gimbal to stabilize everything. So, and I like the Rode system too, because it comes with, like, it's really easy to have two microphones at the same time. This is a really cool tripod that came with my camera. So looks like we're losing people. I've got a bunch of stuff I need to do. If you guys don't want to stick around, let me know. Like I said, I know it's weird. It's a Tuesday, and this isn't 100% knife-related content. But like I said, I just wanted to remind everybody before I do go. Coupon code crazysharp at Ferrum Forge Knife Works. These are absolutely. I have some very expensive kitchen knives. This is the one I use for everything I cook. It's just about the perfect size for a chef's knife. And like I said, then if you buy the full set, there's a utility knife in there. And I don't make anything if you buy these. I just have a coupon code. I talk to the guys and I'm like, hey, could I get a coupon code for my subscribers so that they could save? And they're going to make more sales because it then becomes more enticing for people. If they are able to get in, if they're able to get a discount, they're probably gonna think it. Even if it only saves you shipping, it's still not bad. Sorry, got a text message here. So let's see. Oh, my daughter's gonna be late tonight. That's what she's saying. If you guys have not, please subscribe to the channel if you have not. I would absolutely consider it a personal favor if you guys would do that. So, and your guys are going to start seeing there's going to be, my buddy offered me his lefty Sebenza for $200, declined it. He just sold it this morning. Can't go wrong with a Sebenza. I would never, I sold a Sebenza one time. Your buddy may regret that. I sold a Sebenza one time and immediately was like, I feel as though that I had a lapse in judgment and turned around and bought a brand new Sebenza. So for those of you guys that haven't seen a Sebenza, this is Sebenza. This is just about, this is the legendary, much talked about, never duplicated Chris Reeves knife Sebenza. I did re-anodize mine with a green anode, but this thing is just absolutely a beast of a knife. Mine needs taken apart and cleaned because it's kind of gritty and nasty. It's got a bit of a grit in it. And that's my thing with washer knives. You can't with washer knives, you can't just oil it from above. You got to take this knife apart and clean it. But it's absolutely one of the best knives ever made. Is this right here? This is, if I had to pick a knife that I knew I could rely on in any situation, it would be this knife, and this would be the knife I would take with me in those scenarios. It's probably one of the best work knives you'll ever come across. The Ferrum Forge knife, or I'm sorry, the Chris Reeves knife Sebenza. I got Ferrum Forge Knife Works on the brain because this is sitting here. So, just absolutely one of the big champs of the knife world. That knife right there, and it sets the gold standard for like just overall construction of a knife. It really does. So. I think that's probably enough potatoes. So I'm going to tell you guys, so something's coming. I had forgotten that we did this. I talked with my buddy. I had given him some money. And he's like, hey, man, I completely forgot. I just got around to it. I gave my buddy some cash, and I was like, hey, buy some knives. I was like, buy like 5 knives on Temu. I was like, try to stay under $100. I'll give you $100. Just get me like five knives under $100. And he's like, oh, hey, I forgot. I ordered a bunch of knives for you. I kept it under $100. He's like, you got like 5 knives coming. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. I told him to do that. So I'm gonna do a video. I bought knives on Temu, so you guys didn't have to. So that's absolutely going to be weird. I have no idea what he wound up getting or what they're going to be like. There's a San Remu that looks exactly like a Sebenza. The Sebenza has been duplicated or copied so many times over the years. So it's, I guess you could say, because I had my knife design copied and I was going to make coffee. That's right. I had my knife design cloned. My design was stolen and offered on Amazon for, I think they had it on there for like $20. And I'm like, that's absolutely not accurate because my knife was, I think they were $300 when they came out. This is not the coffee brand coffee stuff, but this Bones coffee is not bad. I do have to admit. The Bones coffee, this is their blueberry pancake. and it's not bad at all. I'm typically not a big fan of flavored coffees. I'm typically not a fan of blueberry. I still don't like this as much as some of the other flavors I've gotten from Coffee Brand Coffee. But as flavored coffees go, it's not bad. It's not real like heavy on the flavor. It's more the aroma. And from somebody that just loves coffee, like coffee is one of my favorite things in the world. Like I will go down the coffee rabbit hole big time and get into like I can't just buy like your average dark roast coffee. Like I can't buy like your average dark roast coffee anymore. My wife bought a thing of the like if I have to, I'll drink like the Kirkland's Choice dark roast because that's what we get because it's cheap and it's easy. But the fact is, dark roast bold flavor is an easy way to say these are stale over burned like burned beans. I saw one where they literally called it a Sebenza had G10 scale. Yeah, it's I don't like counterfeits. I don't like counterfeit knives, especially if you're using the logo. Like I have those movie replica knives, and they don't have the maker's mark on it. There's some minor differences, but they're not meant to be a clone. They're absolutely meant to be a replica. It's time to put this in a little bit. Now we got some fluid. Ooh, smoked paprika smells good. I'll put some more of that in later. But yeah, there's a lot of clone knives out there that I hate when they do that. It drives me nuts. But like I said, there's a difference between a replica and a clone. Like that knife, the Rambo knives aren't trying to be an actual Lyle. They're simply a replica, and they're not meant for use or anything. But I'll tell you the truth, a Lyle or a Jack Crane weren't meant for use to begin with. Like people are like, oh, these survival knives. No, they're trash. They're trash. Like the hollow handle survival knives, they're not going to stand up to the rigors of going out in the woods. Something like this, in concert with a survival kit that goes with this in a pouch, will stand up to the rigors. But those hollow-handled, and I'll go grab one here in a minute while we're talking about it. Those hollow-handled survival knives from the 80s and 90s, they're not gonna stand up and do the things you think you want them to. They really aren't. The first time you try to chop into something, you're gonna break that little screwed-on tang. It's going to be less than optimal for you. Some carrots in here to start sweating down and put the potatoes on top. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're their own thing. We've completely buried the meat with the potatoes, which was the plan. So the potatoes are going to steam. This is going to cook down for a few hours. We're going to have some beautiful roast beef, starchy potato, carrot, onion goodness. Now it's time to put in, it was time to put this in before, fuck me. Some of the aromatics need to go in. I missed a step. It's okay, it happens. These will cook down as well too. All this stuff's gonna cook down a little bit. And we're gonna have enough that I can have roast beef sandwiches and stuff for a couple days. Because the thing is, my wife and daughter don't eat very much of this when I make it. They're like, oh, that sounds good, we'll have it. And they'll have like one plate of it and I'll eat it for the next 3 days. Because there is an entire massive crock pot full of roast beef over here. So, I'll go grab one of the, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Like it's the construction of them. They're cool, they're fun. They're like, they had their place, but mostly in movies. And anybody that ever owned one knows that like they're just for show. They're not really a great item. Where did I put the other? There it is. they're not great for what people think they would be good for. So I have two. I have a Jack Crane duplicate and a Lyle. So this is what I'm talking about. We've had these out and I've showed these to you before. So this is a replica of the LS1 Life Support System 1 from the movie Commando. And it has this hollow handle, but the thing is, it's screwed on. So this handle screws onto a tank, so it's threaded into here. So this has like a piece of all thread or something, or the tang was actually brought down and then threaded, and you screw this handle on. So this is hollow, and that just screws on, and so it's not going to be super strong. The first time you start chopping with that, you could break that. It depends on the welds and things. And as a replica, I wouldn't do it anyway. But it just depends on how well the maker made that tang. And if it's just a piece of all thread that then screwed in, like a bolt or something, and you tie it down, you screw it down. If that weld doesn't hold, or if it's done quick and you didn't realize it, and you had temperature differentials when you were welding it, can cause problems. This one, I think on this one, so this is a replica of the Lyle from Rambo 2. So this is a replica of that, and this one I think you can actually see all the way down in. You guys might not be able to from. Oop, there's the spring. Yeah, you can, and I can see light around it. But this is how a lot of these knives were done, even the nicer ones. The Lyles might not have been as cheaply done, but they weren't meant for like the heavy use that people thought they were. So if you look up in here, I don't know how far up in there you can see, that's just a nut that's on the base of this. So it's just screwed on. It's like a deep well socket, just like you'd use for changing your spark plugs. You just put this handle on, and you just stick the nut in there, and you just crank the nut down to tighten the blade on, and that's what holds this knife together. And even in the more expensive ones, that's pretty much how it was done. And then like this was the thing. Like it was the, oh my God, it's got a spot where you can have a compass and a survival kit in there, and it's waterproof, but it's not really, because you can still get, like, I could see light around that. And even on the more expensive ones that you would see, some of those were like that. What's the point, EDC? What's up, buddy? Bro, you need to share some of my videos. I'll start sharing some of yours if you start sharing some of mine. And I'm gesticulating at you. What's a big knife? I'm gesticulating wildly at you with the point of this movie replica. I will say that wherever I put it, that LS1 clone, I literally just did I take? No, there it is. I think this one is actually done better because this one would be waterproof. So this doesn't have that. You can't see it. This has a hole drilled in and it's threaded, right? And then you have an O-ring that's on here. And so this one you don't see all the way through, right? That is bored out to, where did I put my fucking flashlight? It's bored out to a dead end, right? You don't see the actual screw. So you can put, yeah, I'll start sharing your stuff. I'll tag you in the stuff I share, just so we can get more views. But this one only goes that far, as opposed to going all the way down. And then this probably is a lot more secure because it's drilled and threaded, and then the handle is screwed on really tight. And the nice thing about these round handles is you can screw it down as tight as you want, because you don't have to worry about where your finger guards and your finger choils and stuff are. It just, you put this on, it's grooved, and then there's a hole through it, and you just crank this down. So this is probably a good bit more stable because it looks like there's room to screw that in that far. So this might actually be better than some of the actual Lyles and stuff. And I am not gonna lie to you, I have handled a Jack Crane LS1. This isn't that far off. It's the same steel. I'm not seeing much of the inconsistencies in it. The finish is a little bit worse. As much as everybody deifies Jack Crane for making all the knives for Commando and Predator and the good guy knives, his knives weren't that great. And for $3,000, I would not expect to be able to get a replica that is basically that is almost as good. Like if his knives were 3,000 and this was 175 as a replica, the weight is the same, the handle size is the same, it's consistent, the guard is the same, and this came fucking sharp. I just, I think that we give some of these knife makers way too much credit. I still haven't made a cup of fucking coffee. I got my new "Don't Kill a Motherfucker" pills from the hospital. They're not not bipolar meds or anything, but I did wind up talking to my therapist. And he's like, "Can we put you on something?" I was like, "As long as it's not Xanax." And he's like, "What is it?" Like I keep trying to explain to him. It's like I would never have a problem with opiates. I don't like the way opiates make me feel. I don't think I would have a problem with taking opiates and then like I just wouldn't abuse opiates. However, first time I had a Xanax, I was like, I can't have these. Like I can't have a prescription for these. I can have one now at the hospital when I need it. I can have one there. But you can't send me home with a prescription for like 30 with a refill because I will be halfway through the month and be out of Xanax. I'm telling you right now, he was like, what? And I was like, I know me. I know the things that I like that I take to excess. That's why I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I was at like almost 3 packs a day when I was in the military. I stopped smoking for years. I had a cigarette at work one day because I was stressed out. A week later, I'm back to a pack a day. I can't have nicotine. I know me and nicotine. Can't have it. I know what I can and can't have. I know what hits my fucking addictive behaviors and addictive personality the right way. And I'm like, I can't have that. You just can't give it to me. I just know. So we came up with a resolution for something that levels me out a little bit. But I have to say, the medication they give me for nerve pain is gabapentin. And it absolutely does a lot for my medication. Like, I don't have to take some of my anti-anxiety stuff anywhere near as much. Like, I really don't. So, I have a prescription for some stuff that is like fast working. It's basically Valium. It's like a fast working, like if I feel like I'm having an anxiety attack, because I have PTSD. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one of those guys who's like, I'm not gonna tell you about myself. I got PTSD. It happens. We all suffer with our demons. And so I know that I just can't take certain things because I'm gonna abuse them. And where's everybody going? This is like everybody wants to like, we want the live feeds where people are like open and honest, and fuck that, I'm leaving now because I got what I asked for. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, by the way, unless you're one of the ones that's leaving, and then I did mean it. Mr. Coolio, what's happening? Just caffeinating. Just caffeinating. Cooking's done. Like, everything's done except for, like, the crock pot just does it. Like, for somebody with ADHD, a crock pot's perfect. I saw a comedian talking about that. If you got ADHD, the crock pot is the perfect way to cook. You can put, like, it is the only time I've put something in a cooking device and forgot about it for like 10 hours and it came back and I was like, oh, it's perfect. He's like, I put I put beans in a crock pot for like 18 hours, completely forgot about it, came back. He's like, best fucking beans I ever had. Oh, that's what I need to make next week. That's what I need to make. I have a half of a smoked ham that my buddy gave me that's vacuum sealed and in the freezer. That needs to be done sometime soon. Oh yeah, that's smelling good. So I just forget about it and come back when you smell chili. Yeah, holy shit, chili must be done. This crock pot is amazing too. We've had it forever, and it's starting to look kind of rough. But the problem is, like, I want to get like this is the problem. Like, that's we're at the point where I might have to be that hillbilly that has a pair of small little pair of channel locks in the box with the crock pot because the switch has been glued, like you can see like the glue and stuff. It's been glued like 5 or 6 different times, and it's starting to come off again. So that's a problem. and one of the handles is cracked, and it has a hot spot. So I'm like, should I get a new crock pot? But this is one of those big oval, this is the Hamilton Beach meal maker. It's huge. There's 4 onions, 6 potatoes, a pound of carrots, and a 3-pound roast in that. And I still was able to get the lid shut, and I could put more stuff in there. And I'm like, they don't make ones like this. They make the small round ones, and I'm like, I don't want those ones. I want this one. I want one of these. Well, they don't make this one anymore. So that's gonna cook all day. It's noon now. By the time dinner rolls around, my daughter won't be home till like 7:30 or 8 o'clock tonight. That gives that like almost 8 hours to cook. It just winds up being about perfect. And I don't have to worry about I'm out of the way. I'm not cooking when my wife is home. I'm out of her way. So it just winds up, crock pots just wind up being about perfect. And if this is in her way, I can move it out into the well, I'm pointing that way. I can move it out into the studio because I'm not filming today. So not filming today. So put that in there. That'll help. Oh, I was talking about, so you guys are new, or just joined. I was talking about that Cyrax thing. So there is a video, like I couldn't sleep last night because my shoulder hurts so bad. There's a video of this guy, Cyrax, and he looks like a goblin. And he thought he was talking with a representative of YouTube, and he's telling you, shut the fuck up, you stupid cunt. I'm going to come get your job. And it's all been done by this guy. But he continually like exposes himself on feeds, which he's in Akron, Ohio, which it is so sad that the TV show Family Ties lied to everyone about Akron, Ohio. Everybody's like, oh, it must be a great place. That's where the Keatons live. Akron, Ohio, like if you go watch body cam footage, you're going to see a handful of places. You're going to see Waukesha, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin. You're going to see someplace in Tuscarawas County, Ohio, which is right up Coshocton County, Ohio, which is where I'm from and grew up, and Akron, Ohio. They have got the body cam footage market locked down. And I'm like, Ohio, stop. The Florida auditions are over. Florida won. And then my sister's like, well, just remember, if Florida is the rectum of the country, Ohio is its stinky armpit. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some from Florida, but if you go look, the majority of them, Waukesha, Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, LaGrange, I think LaGrange is in Wisconsin or Indiana, Coshocton, Ohio, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, Coshocton County, Ohio, Tuscarawas County, Ohio, Guernsey County, Ohio, and Akron. Sometimes you'll see Cincinnati, but like even as bad as I used to joke about Cincinnati being, it seems as though my neck of the woods in Southeast Ohio on the other side of the state, the bottom right side as opposed to the bottom left, has taken over the trying to be Florida man. This is really good coffee. So, yeah, it's tons of ridiculous. Dayton, Florida. I'm going to tell you, Clearwater, Florida. Clearwater, Florida, and is it Ocala, Florida? Those guys, like that's deep, deep, deep Florida man territory right there. That is Florida man, Florida woman. You may get like. So we walked into the house and realized they had been cooking and eating their neighbors. You know, shit like that. That's like it's not Florida is NTBFW. And that doesn't mean North Texas bean farm worker. That is not to be fucked with. That is a joke. That is a joke that I had a buddy, really good friend of mine that passed away. One of my first supervisors in the Navy. And he had a tattoo that said NTBFW. And everybody would joke about like, oh, Barker, what's that stand for? And he would make little jokes, and he's like, well, what do you think it stands for? And everybody was like, nice to big fat women and stuff like that. And I looked at him and I was like, I know what it is. He's like, what? And I was like, North Texas bean farm worker. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, that is the best off the cuff one I've heard. By the way, is that kitchen knife a hollow grind? No, it is a flat grind. It is super thin. Here, I'll get it out and show it to you. I put it away. I'm not a fan of hollow ground kitchen knives. Kitchen knives are not, you don't have to get that fancy with a hollow ground on a kitchen knife. Kitchen knives are not something you're taking out in the woods and prying on. Really thin blade stock, nice full grind all the way down to that knife disappears. This is, I haven't even sharpened this. I guarantee you could do all the cutting you wanted to do even if this knife was dull. What do you mean you can finally comment? What happened? Did you get blocked? Did you comment on other things and get a 24-hour? I got a 24-hour post ban, comment ban on YouTube because I said something in someone's video and someone else got offended, and I was like, so I reached out to that channel because I know the guy that owns the channel. I was like, did you report my comment? And he goes, no. I was like, did one of your moderators? He goes, he's like, let me see if anything you posted was held for review. And he's like, no, wasn't any of my guys. And I was like, what the fuck? Someone got offended, and I was picking on the guy that owns the channel. We're not going to talk about who it is. I was picking on the guy that owns the channel. And it got taken down for cyberbullying. Okay, I will tell you who it was. It's Scab. It was Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery. I got a post that said that my comment was cyberbullying. That's weird. I haven't got you blocked. Like, I went through and I scrubbed the list of people that are blocked the other day, and cleaned it out just because it's just so many. And you're like, these people probably gave up on trying to comment. You were not one of those names, so I did not see I didn't see you in there anywhere. So it was Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery, and it was his video. He was talking about American makers. Why can't we get? It was in his car, and he's absolutely right. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. So he came to the stop, and you guys know if you watch Scab, he's great. Like, Scab is hilarious. I talk to Scab almost daily. As a matter of fact, I have his personal number. I call him all the time. We talk multiple times a week. And you guys know he sends me things. He's like, hey, could you share this? Go check out my community post, the one that I shared, Blackie Thomas's video. Go check that out. Please help Blackie out. Blackie's done a lot for the knife community. He's done a ton of stuff to help out other channels and other people. And so I did share it. If you go check that out, if you can. Blackie had a stroke, and it's going to be financially devastating if we are unable to help him. But at any rate, so Scab comes to a stop in his truck, in his car, and I commented, this is exactly the comment. I was like, Scab, you are the only one I know that can come to a stop and look both ways without turning his head. And I told him that's what I posted. He goes, brother, he's like, I wouldn't have taken that down. That's fucking hilarious. So if you watch Scab, you know that he's got that kind of sense of humor. He's like, no, I didn't take that. Somebody reported that. And my comment got taken down and listed as harassment and cyberbullying. And I wasn't able to comment for 24 hours. And then I got a message saying, we've had multiple reports of your comments being problematic, and if you continue, you could lose your channel. I'm like, I'm just not going to fucking comment on shit anymore. I'll comment on it here in my live feeds. If you don't know, Scab, God bless him, I love him like a brother, he's a great dude. He has a lazy eye. He doesn't have a lazy eye. He has an unemployed eye. Like, it's that's. I'm sorry. I need to find Jesus. That was wrong. I'm in a weird, almost good mood, but not. Got a haircut today though. I am gonna continue to maintain this haircut. I have not cut I had stopped cutting my hair like this for years, and I'm like, you know what? This is the most zero maintenance. Skin fade, number 1 or number 2 on top. All right, skin fade, number 2 on top. It's a great haircut. I can comb my hair with a washcloth. I don't have to buy shampoo. So when I wash my body, I just make one pass with the washcloth. I don't need shampoo. I got body wash. I don't need face wash. I do actually, my daughter started me on like, she's like, you need to take care of your skin. And she got me an entire thing of moisturizers and things like that for my face. So I do take care of my face, and I'm like, why should I worry about it? She's like, you have a YouTube channel. You are on camera every day. If your skin looks like shit, people, I'm like, I don't think my viewers would care, but all right, I believe you. So my skin is beautifully soft and attractive on my face. I don't, well, just my left hand and another part of my anatomy are really smooth because, well, you know why. Lotion. So, you guys, this is hilarious. I'm sorry. This is funny. So, when I first got married, I used to take care of, like, I was a very rambunctious person when I was younger. Had a lot of piss and vinegar, and I was very, very much more active in the sexual realm than my wife was. Doesn't matter how many times, there was still the urge, and so I would take care of myself in the shower. And my wife came into the kitchen the one time, and she's got the thing. She's like, "Why are we always out of conditioner, but we have so much shampoo?" And I'm like, "I'm not using it. I was active duty military. That's what my head looked like from the time I was 17 until I retired." And she's like, "Why are we always out of conditioner?" I'm like, "Don't know. Maybe you just use more than you think you do." She says, "I don't think so." And I'm like, "Don't know, babe. Got to go to work. See you later." Most of you are going to understand that. I have an amazing wife. You guys don't get to see her very often. She does not like being on camera. My daughter doesn't like being on camera anymore, especially after. So if you guys don't know, the online community can be problematic. We had a lot of threats on my daughter. We had a stalker that started showing up at the house, took pictures of my house, threatened my daughter and things like that. And so about that time, if you guys remember, that was about the time you stopped seeing my daughter very often on video. Every once in a while, she'll make an appearance, like the short where she was talking about. I said that I had wanted her to be more involved in politics and understanding politics, to be an informed voter. I'm not trying to push her to vote. I'm not trying to push her to vote Democrat. I'm not trying to push her to vote Republican. That's her choice. That's what I say here. That's why politics is not a thing we talk about here. But I do want her to be informed. Hey, Winston Cabretti's here. By the way, Winston, this thing's incredible. But when she does here in a year become old enough to vote, or in a year or two, I want her to be able to make informed decisions and look at things from not just an emotional standpoint. And I was telling her about, like, I watched the election live stream, and I watched it on Louder or Crowder not because I am more conservative than most. I try not to throw that up, but I watched it on his channel because he's hilarious. And so I watched that, and I told her, I was like, you can watch it with me. She's like, I'm so tired. And I was like, so we were talking about it. And I was like, well, I'd like you to watch it. And she goes, election night is the grown-up version of tracking Santa. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, tell me I'm wrong. She's like, you even do it. You track it from state to state. And you're like, oh, we've gotten to California. Yeah. And I'm like, she's not wrong. She's not at all wrong. She's a very, very clever child. And she looks at the world the same way I do. Like the time that she knows I'm scared of spiders, and I had said something to irritate her, and she looked at me and thought for a little bit. She goes, we had just moved to this house. And she's like, a lot of spiders in this house, huh? I was like, yeah, there are more than at the other house. We're closer to the ocean. It's a little damper. It's not quite as dry. There's more spiders. She goes, yeah, lots of spiders. She's like, you check your entire CPAP mask and hose before you go to sleep? And I was like, oh, you're a monster. And I got ready for bed that night. She came upstairs, and she's like, I was getting my CPAP hose all laid out so that I could put it on, like it's sitting next to me. She's like, check the entire hose, check the machine, check all of it. There might be a spider in there. I'm like, you're a fucking little monster. You're a monster. So that means I raised her right. I raised her right. She's amazing. So, guys, it's been, surprisingly, almost 2 hours. So if you guys got any questions or anything you want to talk about. Like I said, there will be a video. I am so upset with the owners of this company. I'm going to do everything I can to end them. Because, like I said, this knife is incredible. And the guy that made this for them, they fucked him so bad that he had to sell his house, sell everything he owned, and live out of a van. They made a Marine Corps combat veteran homeless because of their business practices. And I'm going to do everything I can do to make it insufferably bad for them. Everybody's like, yeah, but like his dad owns the company and his dad's sick. And I was like, his dad knew exactly what the fuck his son was doing and he allowed it. And so therefore I have zero fucking sympathy. So we will get around to, hey, Panzer, what's up? You came in right at the end. So we'll get around to that one. I just want to get all the information together. There's another guy that's helping me. He's talking with a bunch of people that invested money and things like that and all the stories about how they got screwed. And he is trying to compile that stuff. And so I think it's going to be kind of a while before we get around to it. I just want to let you guys know. Do not, because they're still, I think their website is still up and they're selling knives. Carnivore Knives, don't buy anything from them. They're selling blade wax. Just hang on. Now I'm back on this. Now I'm pissed again. They're selling blade wax, which is something you can get from a lot of different places. You can just get your average blade wax, which you don't even need to buy. You can use Vaseline, or if you got those beeswax sticks for a zipper, you know, for your camper or something like that, the beeswax for sealing around the zippers and all that stuff. They look like chapstick, but it's basically just beeswax in a stick form. They were selling this for $15, and it's like, it's a proprietary blend of ethically sourced beeswax, almond oil, and coconut oil. It's $15. You don't need that. Let me show you what you can use. These are great. And I actually, these ones that I just got are, I guarantee I got screwed on this. These are just menthol chapstick, because chapstick's usually just beeswax with menthol. This is mint. This is zipper, boat, and snap lube. That's what it is. It's, you can smell the menthol in it. It is menthol beeswax chapstick that has just been relabeled. And I mean, it works great. And this is what's on my crewwear knives. They come 3 in a pack, so it's not that expensive. These, I think it was $5 for 3 of these. And so this is, I use this on the snaps for soft loops because they have a tendency to get a little sticky. So the pull-on dot snaps that are on soft loops, a little bit of this will make it open and close easier. And I have a zipper that has a breast. Winston Cobretti bought me a zero tolerance, not zero tolerance, zebra foxtrot. Jesus Christ. A zebra foxtrot mechanics jacket. It's a nice little brown, but it has a brass zipper, and it gets sticky. And so I just put a little bit of this on it and run it up and down. But this works great to put it on blades, and it's convenient because it's just basically like it's chapstick. That's all it is. It's beeswax chapstick with menthol. I've used it on my lips, and I'm like, that's 100% menthol chapstick. That's all it is. So if you buy them on Amazon, you can just go buy like a Burt Bees beeswax chapstick and use it on your blades. But like for $15, that's ridiculous. This is convenient because you can put it in your pocket and take it with you or not. This will melt. Is this a good blade wax? Yeah, it's a pretty good blade wax. Is it $15 worth? Fuck no. And I tried to peel the Carnivora label off so I didn't have to look at it anymore, and it was really sticky underneath, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll leave it on there. Yeah, screw those guys. Screw those guys, it's going home. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's all I had on my mind. I just was gonna do this while I cook. Now that I'm done cooking, I'm gonna pick out which video. I don't know what video is going to go up tomorrow, but it'll go up noon tomorrow, so you guys should follow that. And guys, if you don't follow the channel, please do. I would appreciate it if you'd give the channel a follow, subscribe, maybe hit that bell icon, share the videos and stuff. I'm going to go in and I'm going to share I'm going to find links to like 3 of What's the Point EDC's videos to make him feel obligated to share mine. Just saying, you know, that's how it works. Like, I'm going to share a bunch of his videos. He can share a bunch of mine. So, guys, I'm going to, oh, that won't be ready for several hours. Just to get, I'll show you what we got going here on this. You probably are going to hear some weirdness in the audio because I'm just going to disconnect the microphone. So you're just going to, that's the native microphone. There is a 2 pound, 2 or 3, there's a 3 pound roast underneath all those potatoes that it's sitting on. Do I like sardines? Okay. I fucking love sardines. Absolutely love sardines. They're amazing. As a matter of fact, I was already planning on this, but I had these set aside as a snack. I got these today for a snack. These are the King Oscar wild caught sardines. These are the best sardines. These are the best ones out there. So good. And I don't like anchovies, but I like anchovy paste or dried anchovies ground up. That's not gonna lie. I love sardines. I'm not a fan of like the hairy, nasty or anchovies that you get on pizza, because those are like the, I'm not gonna lie, those are the worst. Those are the worst. You guys want to see what the studio looks like right now? I took the green screen down because I'm just not in the mood. I got a couple TVs that I got to sell and some stuff. The assistant here, yeah, if you're getting them in Italy, the production assistant's here, but like it's a mess out here. I can't film today. I'm just not mentally in the mood for it. I'm probably gonna do some editing, and then I've got to organize. I have to reorganize all of this. I've got to find some, I got to box up all these cases. There's an entire set of knife cases and boxes in the overhead storage, the overhead cupboards in our downstairs bathroom. And that's, now we've built this up again. And then I got to go through this stuff. And there's some stuff back here I need to get up on a chair and take a look at. Like there's some archery sights and stuff up here. Winston Cobretti, I forgot to give this to you when you came down the other day. So I got to set that aside. But I got to go through these Vosteeds, see what still needs filmed. And then this needs organized. This entire cluster needs organized. So, and then I've got this set up so that I can start having knives that are in for review. I want to get this set up the right way. So knives that I use for comparison and things for filming sit there, but I want to get this organized and cleaned up in a fashion where I can have knives that are currently in the process of review sitting here so they're not just laying out, because it gets confusing when you have all that stuff. And then there's stuff back behind here. There's a cold steel back here, some other stuff that's like that little cave of weirdness. But this worked out the best I've ever had anything work out, when I realized I was like, I had all of my fixed blades used to sit here, and then my knife rolls would sit on top of them, and I was constantly pulling stuff out. And so I cleaned this entire shelf off, reorganized stuff, and got stuff organized so that I could put stuff over here, so I could separate maintenance stuff from sharpening stones. And that left me with enough space that I could use this milk crate like a box, or like a shelf, like a drawer. And it'll pull all the way out, and I have access to my fixed blades that I keep in here that aren't like crappy ones. And then I can just slide them back in, and then it doesn't move anything around. Knives that are in for review from other reviewers are down here. Like this stuff came from Scab. This stuff came from Jared. And then everything else there is mine. And then I have all my audio video gear, my lights, my light stands, my power supplies, tripod pieces, parts here, light stands and tripods here, microphones, more lights. I have a ton of light stands. I have a ton of lights. I've got like 4 of these lights now, and then like I said, power supplies and stuff, and battery bank power supplies. And then this battery bank up here acts as a secondary outlet out here in the studio. So I can just run this. So if I'm filming, like when I film with the, I can't wear this hat. I'm upset. This hat, I spent a lot of money on it. It's not comfortable. I only wear it for filming. But this gooseneck that's here, clamps here, and I can film over top of the workbench when I'm actually filming the top-down stuff. Balls. And then we hung the new TV up, so now I have the TV. When I'm out here just editing, I can watch TV. That's a 70-inch. That's a 70-inch 4K TV that my buddy donated to the cause. I gave him like $300. He said I didn't have to pay him, but I had like $300, so I bought it from him. But yeah, that's stuff's in flux. Always constantly out here, and I got to get everything set up. But I do need to figure out how I'm going to get rid of these TVs. I have 2 TVs here and a TV upstairs that my buddy that had to move out of San Diego that just couldn't do anything with it. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with these, how I'm going to sell them. So this is a TV that used to hang on the wall. This is like a 45, 50-inch Sony, but I've also got a bunch of those Samsung curved monitors that I got to sell. And he's like, hey, just for you letting us like try to storm here, just whatever you sell them for, you keep it. So guys, that's it. I'm going to get out of here. I want to clean up the kitchen a little bit before wife gets home if there's a fit. So, Atreus 2, you better sub. You better sub, because I said it. I said balls. All right, guys. This has been fun. I love you all. And I'll see you next time. You got 1 knife, roll of knives, and a tripod to start off my channel. I got 3 knife rolls, 2 or 3 knife cases, and here's one. This, before we go, I just like, because like I talk about it, but in here, so you guys know that there's that milk crate full of knives. So this downstairs bathroom has got all this storage here, right? That knife, that is all knife stuff. Knife cases, fixed blade knives in that, like old fixed blade knives growing up. There's knives over here, knife cases. And so all this is like vacuum cleaner parts and stuff like that for the carpet cleaner. But my buddy was over here the one day and he's like, why do you have a blowgun in the corner of your bathroom? And I was like, well, where do you keep yours? And he's like, what? I was like, well, where do you keep your blowgun? Like, it's the only place I had room for it. So I'm like, where do you keep your blowgun? He goes, what do you mean? Where do I keep my blowgun? Like, why would I have a blowgun? I was like, you don't have a blowgun? Well, you need a blowgun to put in the corner of your downstairs bathroom. Like, he came over, was hanging out, and he sat down in the bathroom, and he goes, he came back from the bathroom, he took a crap, and then he came out, and he was like, I got a serious question for you. I was like, what? He goes, why is there a blowgun in your bathroom? And I was like, well, I don't have, my initial response was like, oh, I don't have a downstairs bathroom pistol. And he's like, I was like, no. I mean, well, where do you keep your blowgun? Like, it's the most logical spot. Yes. There's a cold steel big bore blowgun in my downstairs bathroom just leaned up in the corner. Guys, that's it. I love you all. Talk to you later. We'll get into, you guys can ask me about this weirdness at a later date. I'll see you guys later.